I've been meaning to talk about this topic specifically, and I'm going to be breaking it down pieces by pieces. But I wanted to address the whole ancient Egyptians are black or ancient Egyptians are Africans because a lot of people are debating it. A lot of people get upset and get really angry, really passionate about this subject. And I personally, I'm 50-50 on this. But anyways, one of the big discussion at hand, or one of the big frustration that comes from this topic is the fact that obviously you have black Americans. It's usually only black Americans oftentimes who do this, who will obviously say that the ancient Egyptians looked like them, and they are the descendants of ancient Egypt. This has obviously caused a lot of discussions, a lot of debates as to whether or not these people are right, these people are wrong. Many people tend to use this kind of talking point that the black Americans have opened up to mock them and criticize them and to laugh at them for wanting to claim a civilization or a people that they have no genetic lineage to. Now, but what a lot of people don't seem to understand is why the black Americans tend to do this a lot. Now, you guys have to keep in mind that when these people, a small portion obviously of Africans were enslaved and brought over to the Americas, they essentially had their whole history wiped out. As in, their language, their culture, their way of life, everything that was tied down to West Africans was wiped out completely. And then they spent 400 years being told that they had no civilizations. So of course, it has developed a sense of inferiority complex, a sense of, I guess, self-hate, a sense of, I don't know where the fuck I'm from type of energy. And obviously when they see movies and TV shows and pictures of Europeans flexing their cultures, their history, their, civilizations, ancient civilizations, even if some of the white Europeans in America didn't have any connection, so you would have usually an Irish person being like, yeah, look at the Roman Empire, we were one of them. Nobody would ever bat an eye on that. Everyone would just usually accept it for the most part. Black Americans, obviously at the time, felt some type of way. How can you go to school, see people talk about all these different civilizations, but they never mention Africans? Well, I think sometime in, I don't know when they decided discovering mummies and when the interest for Egyptian began to spur, a lot of wealthy black people at the time, I'm assuming, went to ancient Egypt, and obviously they saw the hieroglyphs, they saw the picture, and they saw that the people depicted themselves with skin tone literally akin to this. There's no disputing it, no matter how much you want to try and argue against it. Most of the time, when the ancient Egyptians depicted themselves, it was with this skin tone. And yes, there was very dark skin tone, but I'm gonna get into that a little bit later on. So basically, when they saw this, and when they saw that one of the oldest civilizations was of African origins, so to speak, it gave them hope. It gave them something to kind of feel like, yes, I am something. I am part of something. Look what these people who share my skin tone and they come from a region similar to where my other people are coming from. I want to claim that. So they went on a massive claiming situation, and obviously that's where it all comes down. Now, the problem with this is that I feel like is a big issue is that the fact that they're just laser focusing on just ancient Egypt kind of still perpetuates this idea that, well, you guys are only claiming one civilization that happens to be on the continent of Africa, and even that is still very much disputable, ignoring all the other kingdoms and civilizations and empires that have existed throughout Africa. In fact, a lot of black Americans, right? Sorry to say this, but you guys are mostly West African. We have civilizations too. The Songhai Empire, the Benin Kingdom, the Mali Empire. We had so many kingdoms left and right. They are very prominent, very influential, very powerful politically, military, all that stuff. Like, but you guys aren't interested in any of those because you know why? You've been told that West Africa is a backwater and region. There's nothing going on there. Everybody else was just running around chucking sticks and all that stuff. And even though when it comes to bronze and iron, Africans did it way first before anyone else. But especially my people, the Igbos, we were using iron and bronze way before the Europeans even knew what the fuck was that all about. So, but anyways, but see, you guys aren't focused on that. You guys are really just hammering on the whole ancient Egypt, even to the point where I have 5 minutes left. Even to the point where you guys would even start calling yourself Nubians, even though Nubians are still alive, they still exist, they're still over there, trying to make themselves well known across the world. And it's kind of like a little bit disrespectful that you're claiming to be Nubians, even though if I asked you to tell me something in Nubian, tell me a little bit of the Nubian history, anything like that, you wouldn't know. It's weird, but you guys still do that anyways. So that comes back down to why it's harder for you guys to claim ancient Egyptians is obviously genetics. Let's just be real. I would say 2%, 2 to 5% of West Africans could actually claim descendants of ancient Egyptians. That's just facts. It's just undisputable fact. Like, most of us don't have any connection to the ancient Egyptians. And if you notice, Black Americans are the only ones who tend to do this. Africans from the continent don't even do this. even people closely, in proximity of that region don't even do this. Somalians, Ethiopians, Kenyans, Sudanese, they don't even do this. You guys are the only ones, and it's weird. It really is weird. But you guys do have one strong argument, and that is, despite the fact that you guys may not be direct descendants of the ancient Egyptians, that doesn't mean you can't be proud of Africans' achievement. Many Africans, right, they know that they're not descendants of ancient Egypt, but what we're not going to do is allow fucking Europeans or Arabs claiming that region whatsoever. We're not going to do that. They may use statues and stuff like that to say, wow, we don't look like the statues or the depictions. Well, yeah, obviously. But if you look at a West African to an East Africans, we don't share the same phenotype to some extent. East Africans have a very unique phenotype. I mean, they are literally the birthplace of all life. So they would literally have all the phenotypes that every other region would possibly have. So it makes more sense that, their phenotypes would be similar to that of, ancient Egyptians. Because if you look at Ethiopians, if you look at Kenyans, if you look at Somalians, their phenotypes tend to somewhat match the ones that we see on the, statues and the hieroglyphs and all that stuff. So, point being is that the ancient Egyptians were Africans. Unfortunately for West Africans, well, Black Americans, they're not your people. It's just what it is. They're just not your people, and it's fine. It really is. It's more important that we expose other civilizations, other kingdoms for the world to know. Do you know what I mean? And in fact, you guys are so fixated on ancient Egyptians. You guys are skipping the ancient Kush, the ancient, Nubians. Never mind the ancient Nubians and ancient Kush. Look at the Songhai Empire. Look at the Benin Kingdom. Look at all these people. As an African, you have to have a decent amount of knowledge of all the kingdoms in Africa. Because if you look at white people, even if you say, well, I'm going to take away the Roman Empire from them, they're going to go straight down to the Vikings. They're going to go straight down to the British, I don't know if British actually have an empire. Well, they do have an empire, you know what I mean, but like ancient empire. They don't have shit. But, I don't know. It's just something interesting to talk about, really. It's like, I get it. You guys feel lost, and that's fine. It's not your fault, but you guys cannot claim connections to... In fact, I'll be honest with you. Ethiopians, Sudanese, Kenyans, Somalians, these guys would have a greater chance of claiming descendants from ancient Egypt than you guys would ever be. It's just what it is, Everybody knows that the ancient Egyptians have had hundreds of years of colonization, conquering. They've been conquered so many times. It's virtually impossible at this point to figure out who is a direct descendant of the ones who built the pyramids, who built that civilization. All we know is that they were brown. Let's be real, this brown, not the light brown that the Arabs or the whites are trying to tell you that they are, like, super light to the point where you can't distinguish it. They depicted themselves as brown. Now they did show very, very dark-skinned, people, but that's not necessary to separate race. It's just separating ethnicity at this point. We Africans still do this to this day. So yeah, that's just my opinion on it. Let me know what you guys think.